All right, let's try this online home learning and see how it goes. You can see I'm in my PJs at home and trying to do this. I hate doing rules, but we're gonna try doing it just because I do want to set some ground rules to see how we do everything, and we'll see how far we get. Yeah, so I hate it, but I really, really think we need it. This is kind of how I've been the last few days. I'm just trying to get some work done with my son running around and making my life extremely fun. Couple things. We just want to make sure that we are kind of just getting by. I know this is new for everybody. It's Thursday of our second week, and we really haven't done anything yet. For us teachers, we spent 3 days kind of just cramming in all these different ways of trying to make life possible for you guys. Is it really going to last 2 weeks? I doubt it. So we're going to make the best of it. What I do need you guys to do is let me know if I'm not doing something right. You guys need something extra. So, be vocal, email me. If you want something personal, write on our Google webpage if you want anything. Be an advocate for yourself or people that you know that are struggling. So we're in it together. Since it is online, be kind. I know it's really easy to be mean to each other online because it's nobody's speaking back to you, but at the same time, you want to be able to, just be respectful of one another. We're in it together. We want to do well. I want you guys to do well. We're here to just get through and try to be happy. So we're at home. So whether that's being lazy, not ever getting dressed up for school, but just be happy and trying to get by. I found this next clip really hilarious because this is my days at home. Luckily, it is right now 12:30 in the morning, so I don't have my son bothering me, but this is what I feel like all the time.
Of course, everyone's been out buying supplies. Personally, I recommend CVS. They've got what you need, and every receipt is a week's worth of toilet paper. Hey, you stepped on that truck. That's a funny joke. Do you like it?
No.
All right. Everyone's been buying supplies. Personally, I recommend CVS. They've got what you need, and every receipt is a week's worth of toilet paper. Of course, everyone's been out buying supplies. Personally, I recommend CVS. They got what you need, and every receipt is a week's worth of toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
I told you it was funny. I knew you'd like it. Just gotta wait for the punchline. Oh.
So that's my look. Just when I'm trying to do anything, we did a lot of Zoom, Google Meets, and stuff like that. And my son's just running and saying hi to everybody. Now I get to torture my dog. But anyway, let's kind of get to the thing. I understand life sucks right now. I understand it's not ideal. It might be fun for a few days to be home playing, but in the end, a lot of things are getting canceled. So it's getting weird out there, and it's only going to get weirder as time goes by. So I get it. We're in it. My goal is still the same, like I posted before. We're trying to get you prepared for AP Bio. If you're a senior, it's going to be really funky this year. Who knows what it's going to look like? It just depends how long we're out for. So we are going to have take-home tests most likely. And I get it. As long as you do everything, that's my main thing. That's what I put right there on the very bottom. That the main thing for me is completion. So if you are doing everything the way you're supposed to do it, that's a horrible color, then that's what I'm looking for. As long as you get it complete, you'll do well and get an A. So you'll notice that the grade should reflect that as well. So we're looking for completion in this case. And so that's all I need to do. All right. On to expectations. This is kind of what I expect us to do. We're going to do a lot of lectures at the very beginning. Then we're going to have assignment based on a lecture. On day 3, I'm going to have a discussion. So this week is going to be short. So this one's going to be pretty much just be day 1 and day 2. I'm just going to have a really quick lecture and a really quick assignment based on that. For us, I need to do at least 3 things a week, and then I'm going to have office hours, most likely Friday. I don't know when we're going to do it on Friday, but it will be Friday at some time where I'll be actually online for an hour if you have any questions like that. So that's what I mean, timing, it is your preference. And I do understand at home, when you do have take-home tests, you could Google anything. So that's something I understand, at least for me. It doesn't bother me, but for maybe other classes you do. So we do trust that you guys are going to be as honest as possible. I'm going to torture my dog a little bit. All right, so we'll see how long it goes. We are right now scheduled for 2 weeks, like I said, but the CDC did recommend at least 8 to really make a difference. So we'll see really how much longer. I do know colleges already canceled graduation. So sorry, seniors, if that's the case for you guys, but it might be. So just expect the worst. All right, so we kind of left off talking about viruses because it was actually kind of relevant because that's what's kind of going around. But the main point, the reason why we brought up viruses, I'm going to let my dog down, is that we do have a lot of cool things that come from it. So the lab that we want to do after PGLO was kind of a antigen kind of essay. So I never kind of went over the virus itself. I did ask you guys to read stuff, but since we're online now, I might as well kind of go over it a little bit better. Viruses are made of 3 things. You have a protein shell, and then you also have genetic material. So you have a protein shell on the outside. In this case, will be right here. Here's your protein shell. And then you have your genetic material on the inside. And then on the outside, you're going to have your nuclear envelope. So these are kind of the main components. Not every virus will have this nuclear envelope on the outside, but pretty much all human viruses do. So when you look at influenza, even COVID-19, HIV, they're going to have these very similar kind of structures out there for them. Now, for the capsid, which is kind of the outer side, so this part of the protein, the inside of the thing. So for bacteriophage, you don't even have a nuclear envelope. You just have this capsid with the long cylindrical tube that attaches to the bacteria itself. So you can have different types of shape. You could have an icosahedron, I believe that's how you pronounce it. So this is kind of the more traditional one, 20 face, looks like a cube. Looks more like a soccer ball. You can have a filament one, which more is kind of like a tube-like thing that you can see, or you can have a combination. So a bacteriophage is kind of like you have a circle head and then a tail that kind of attaches to it. And that's kind of what they look like. But they could also have an envelope on the outside. So here you kind of see that with our picture right here on the right. So here is your shape of your protein outer. Here's your DNA on the inside, but as it escapes the cell, it's going to endocytosis, I believe it's what it's called, and then it's going to come out like this. So this is your typical like HIV, influenza, or even COVID-19 kind of picture where you have a nuclear envelope on the outside, you have your protein structure on the inside, and then your DNA or your RNA on the very, very inside. Now, why do they have this? Well, it actually helps them hide from the host. So if they have the host DNA, and like I said right here, if I go back, I forgot to highlight something. If I go back to this one, this protein thing is encoded by the viral genome. So this is them. But for the lipid membrane, it's actually from the host because they're just exiting the cells through the membrane and it takes it with it. So what it does, it helps it hide from the host itself. That's what makes these viruses kind of invisible sometimes to us, because it gets there, and it also gets transmitted into us so easily. So you can imagine it escaping this way, but it could also enter the cell the same way, since it has, for us, human nuclear membrane. Once it attaches, it really easily releases this protein inside our bodies or our cells, and it affects us that way. So the only key thing that we can figure out whether it's a virus or us is sometimes it does have viral glycoproteins on the outside. Genomes, it's genetic material of nucleic acid. It could be anything. So we typically have RNA and DNA. RNA, we typically think of single-stranded. DNA, we typically think of double-stranded, but for viruses, you could have both, double-stranded or single. So you can have every combination possible with viruses. Their reproduction is kind of based on 2 different types of things that they could do. They could do, let me get my highlighter back. They could do this cycle right here, which is the lysogenic cycle. This is kind of the one where they're invisible. So they get into our DNA. So here is the virus DNA. And then what they do is they just stay in there. They really aren't active. So most of the viruses live in us and they never really show up again. HIV is the most common one that kind of does this. You have HIV, it doesn't do anything. You're just testing positive for it until it becomes the lytic cycle. You really don't see damages. This is more AIDS and this is HIV. You can also see this in herpes. You have the herpes virus, but it doesn't mean you're going to have an outbreak of cold sores until you get the lytic cycle. So right here, they're just living in our cells. As our cells divide, it just kind of infects more cells as it divides. But when it becomes a lytic cycle is when it kind of breaks apart. It gets out. It doesn't really have to kill the cell, but most of the time it does. But it could also just escape it, infect other ones. So you have two cycles. You have the lysogenic one, which is it just stays within the cell, and then you have a lytic cell, which most likely will kind of destroy the cell. So most of the time we think of viruses in this time. I would say like influenza is mostly here. It's just trying to reproduce and spread as much. That's like why you kind of have body aches. It's because your cells are actually dying, and then we want to prevent that from happening. All right, so that's pretty much it. I will try to keep my lecture short, kind of just like in class. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll also post up the day 2 assignment for today, which is just to kind of go out and look for a typical virus, kind of look at what kind of parts that they have and kind of write in a short answer back for me. So remember, completion is key. As long as you complete everything, then we will be good. So best of luck. We'll see how this goes, and I will talk to you guys soon.